Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, yes, we'll talk about a number of things, predicating that on the President's Democracy Day speech. We've got two gentlemen, as you may have seen there, joining us to take a look at some of these scenarios. Commander Jerry Omodara, retired. He's the State Security Advisor to Kogi State Government. He joins us from our studios in Abuja. Then we have Eugene Weke, who is a Professor of Political Science and Deputy Vice Chancellor at Bonny State University. Good morning. Thank you for joining us via virtually this morning, Professor Weke. And thank you both for joining us as well. Now, let me start with you, Professor Weke, listening to the President's speech. I know that several things, several impressions that people will have from this kind of speech. But for you, as someone who is in political science, you study these kind of scenarios, what do you think about it?
Thank you, Chamberlain. Let me first of all congratulate Nigerians for celebrating Democracy Day on the speech presented by the President. It is a preparation for an exit. But we still desire much from this speech, because the democracy we talk about is grossly threatened by several factors. Yes, there is a promissory note that there will be peaceful election and peaceful transition. But the important question is the institutions that are responsible for such elections have prepared are there. The next thing is we have a monumental issues that, when they are not addressed, cannot ensure credible election and credible democratic protest. And that one of them is the insecurity that he mentioned. Yes, it's a promise that we do, but we need more actions. We expect in that speech to identify actionable issues that will be followed up. And we expected to see or hear from the President the actions already taken, because we do know that the perpetrators of this heinous crime are yet to be brought to book. But the promise has been that they should be brought to book. And if the speech of Democracy Day as presented did not capture some of the expectations of Nigeria in dealing with issues that border on democratic issues, such as the current insecurity, the current participation level of democracy, and the citizen involvement, then we may desire more from the President before he leaves office. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Madara, speak to the security component of that speech, which was heavy on the scheme of things. Yes, several perspectives which he gave, but for you, yeah, the promises that the President made, his quest to address what's going on and his message to Nigerians, how does that come across to you, being in the field of security yourself?
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. We equally want to celebrate with Nigeria on this very auspicious occasion. We also want to say that the Mr. President's speech have touched very key area as far as security is concerned. Looking at the current situation in the country, the speech touched very silent areas, particularly on terrorism and kidnapping, as well as informing Nigeria, sympathizing with Nigeria, those that are in captivity, and as well as those, their family, and giving Nigeria assurance that those in captivity will be released. From what Professor Weke was saying, it is not possible for Mr. President to have come to give us detail of what the military or what security agencies will do to accomplish their job. However, the end result will only be what the public will be very happy to see. I was very happy when Mr. President touched the areas of reform within the security structure. And that is very key to Nigeria right now. How do we handle the internal security of Nigeria? The very complex situations that we are experiencing today. Complex in the sense that we have the internal security before, and now with a new perspective of terrorism coming to join what we are having now. That is a big concern. So, Mr. President, I'm not sure he, within the time limit for the democracy brokers, cannot expatiate on all those things, but he have touched key areas, which is now left for security agency, the head of security agencies, to address and let Nigeria see what they are doing. And I think that will be better for the country.
So if you were in the president's shoes and being a security, well, having spent decades in that field, you know what is expected, you have the capacity to ensure that these kind of things don't happen. And then you see that you're giving a speech, and not long after, there's more kidnappings about people who went for a wedding. And then another kidnapping, ransacking the town, several people killed, with the recent one that even happened before the speech. Would you be satisfied, given that speech, that all is well and you expect that everybody will tag along with that kind of hope? Would you have that kind of impression or feeling?
Mr. President, yeah.
If you were the president, you would be okay with that?
Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, I'm satisfied with what was given to Nigeria. What is left, the missing link is just for us now to be able to see what security agencies are doing. I see a lot of disconnect. Disconnect in the sense that with our security apparatus today, we are not leveraging on what we have very well to tackle the security emerging from every part of the country. It is very key that Nigeria have gone to this level, but coming from the field, it's very clear that Mr. President cannot go one after the other on what all the security agencies are doing to start speaking to them. But what is important is key factors that must take place. What happened now? I just spoke concerning disconnect. We have three levels of government in Nigeria: the local government, the state, and the federal government, and their responsibilities across the three levels of government. But are we doing the right thing? I'm coming from the field, from Kogi State.
Who are the we here?
If what Mr. President have said,
yeah, Mr. Madara, when you say
addressing the right thing.
When you say we are not doing the right thing, who specifically do you refer to?
Yes. Within the three levels of government in Nigeria, as far as security is concerned, I'm in the field. For the last 6 years, we've been able to handle security in Kogi State. It has to do with leadership. Leadership is key as far as security is concerned. When you give direction at the local government level, there are levels of security, internal security that they must handle. Take, for example, in Kogi State, if anything happens within an hour or two in a local government, if my office is not informed, the governor is not informed, the chairman of the local government is in trouble. But there are areas they must handle.
You said a while ago,
the state governor,
a moment ago, that you are satisfied with what the president is doing or with what was given to Nigeria. Now you say leadership is key, as though there are big questions and gaping holes in the leadership which hasn't delivered the kind of security confidence that the country needs.
Remember, I spoke on the three levels of leadership: local government, the state governor, and Mr. President. We are addressing the Mr. President speech, and from what areas he has touched, the sympathy, the reform, the asset acquisition that have been gotten by the government, and the deployment. The president talked about all those areas. And if we have talked about those areas, we are now talking of leadership at all levels. It is not only Mr. President that must do the job. No. Local government chairman has his own responsibility, along with his councillors and all the local government apparatus. There's no local government you don't have security in Nigeria. There is no state you don't have federal presence as far as security is concerned. Utilization of those security apparatus is the key. When you have failed to do it,
okay, so give us some practical examples.
When you have failed to provide the necessary.
Let me jump in. Give us some practical examples. Now that you see the terrorists attacking in different parts of the country, there's kidnapping, banditry, you're saying that the local governments are supposed to play a role. Is that to mean that they're supposed to face this AK-47 or AK-49 wielding terrorists?
No.
How should they respond?
No. I enumerated 2 levels of security. First, we have the internal security, and before the coming of the terrorist activities, which is very, you cannot talk about that irresponsibility of the state and the federal government. And even at the local government, intelligence. There is no criminal that will go to any community without anybody knowing. Let me give you a practical example. In September last year, we had issues of attack at Kaba prison. A lot of inmates were released. We analyzed it. First, they came almost about 9:45. They wore uniform, they were well organized, they came in buses. And in analyzing at security meetings, I told them, expect it in another state. Within the next 5 weeks, it happened in Osun State. The same time they came in Kogi, the same time the way they operated. And I said, these people, they are still going to operate. The next, they moved to Plateau State. We are disjointed as far as security is concerned in Nigeria. We don't follow, we don't have data to know. And most of the security agencies, I must confess, even at the federal level, are working individually. Where you don't have cooperation, it is not for Mr. President to come and do your job for you. We must interact very well. We must make sure that all the security agencies have database. When that happened, the one that happened in Kaba again, it first happened in Okene, in Kaba. The next we have was in Owo. Expect it another time in another state. And that is what we must begin to do. If we fail to connect all these disjointed activity in various state and local governments, and we think it is the business of Kogi State, it is business Ondo State, then we are not yet ready.
So
we have.
Are people supposed to? The impression that some may get from what you just said is that, well, if it is not, it's not the president's responsibility to come and do their jobs for them. So are they then supposed to be allowed to remain in those positions if they have demonstrated huge incapacity?
Certainly, when you are talking of capacity of remaining in office.
Is it yes or no?
At every level, there must be punishment. If there is failure, if there is failure, and it is noticed, what are we waiting for? But as far as we are concerned,
what are we, or what is the president waiting for?
They are doing the best. No. Remember the last time the whole Nigeria were clamoring that we must change the service chiefs. Are we saying the Nigerian military that have performed so well in international assignments are not doing well again? No, it is just because we have failed in Nigeria to separate politics from security. A lot of insecurity in the country today are more or less politically motivated. And that is what we are doing. Until we are able to talk to ourselves. You see, you cannot bath and not see your own nakedness. We are bathing and feeling that we are not seeing our nakedness, and it cannot work.
You talk about punishment. You said there must be punishment. So who should be punishing who?
It depends where the offense is committed. If at a local government, I remember just about 2 months ago.
If the security agencies are not working together, Mr. Madara, just a minute. If the security agencies are not working together, using your own example, what should happen in that case? Who should punish who?
that is when you notice, no, when they are not working together. It is only the need to harmonize, and that is leadership. Mr. President have a responsibility to ensure. He met with the head of security agencies. He met with service commanders. He met with the NSA. So it is now left to see the gaps. If anyone is found not doing his job, there's no problem. You deal with the issue the way it is. And it is not until you remove somebody from office you are punishing the person. No. And even removing from office is only to safeguard the person.
All right, Mr. Modera, we'll talk more about that. Particularly, we'd like to know if, a head should be rolling it within the context of what you're saying now. But let's take a break. You're on to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. We'll be back shortly.
I have got my car for full body work.
Madam, look, we will shine this car.
Wait. This cough doesn't sound good at all. What are you doing about it?
Oga doesn't want to go to the hospital so that they won't say he has COVID-19.
No, now. Cough is a sign of different infections, including tuberculosis. You would only know which cough it is if you go for testing.
Kai, I've been coughing for more than 2 weeks now.
There's no need to fear. I have done this test myself. To know the right treatment for the particular cough you have, you must first get tested.
Oga Chekamo, make you dey sure. Because
who no go?
No go, no. Chekamo, make you dey sure.
If your cough is more than 2 weeks, it could be tuberculosis. Call the National TB Hotline on 3340 for information on where to get a free test. You can also call the NCDC hotline number on 6232 for information about where to get a free COVID-19 test.
University of Medical Sciences, UNIMED, in Ondo City, Ondo State, is not just the first specialized medical and health sciences university in Nigeria.
It is the best ground for training in the health professions and medical sciences with outstanding products.
I had to enroll at another institution before coming to UNIMED, and I can tell you, in terms of facility, affordable cost, uninterrupted academic calendar, University of Medical Sciences blew my mind.
In just 7 years of its founding, the National Universities Commission, NUC, ranks UNIMED best among medical and health sciences university in Nigeria, 4th best state university, and 19th overall best in Nigeria in 2021. UNIMED, proudly Nigeria's first specialized medical and health sciences university.
Wake up the champion in your child. Give them energy to go further. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child. Milo!
This is the residence of Chief M.K. Abiola, the man recognized as the hero of Nigeria's democracy. The auditorium is filled with the usual host, family members, members of civil society organizations, religious leaders, and other familiar faces. The discussion is centered around the political views, sacrifice, and ideals of the man being celebrated here.
Oil, crude oil, which is fast going away, of Nigeria's former over 300 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve, which we are flaring every day, flaring over 80 to 95%. In another 10 years, my fellow compatriots, we will be hungry because there will be no body requiring your oil. So in memory of Chief M.K. Abiola, we should go back to brass tacks and get ourselves a new constitution.
And so we have a collective duty to rebuild democracy. Almost in the way that Chief M.K. Abiola's candidacy made us forget all those funny things we like to pretend that we care about. Ethnicity, religion, this, that.
It's a political season, and an event like this attracts players in politics and also calls for a reflection on issues facing the nation.
All we can do today is what I've told people while I was on my way here, is to reflect and examine our lives as Nigerians and ask ourselves questions. For what he sacrificed for, where are we today? For all he wanted to do for Nigeria, where are we today? I think he was the first person that made me to vote in Nigeria.
My take from this gathering is that a lot has been said to repeat, the history and exactly all of the things, that happened prior to the election of Basharun, MKO Abiola, and the subsequent events.
They gather around the tomb of the renowned businessman and politician. They chant in unison like they've always done for so many years.
29 years after, God has preserved many of you who fought so valiantly, so sacrificially, and many of you are here today.
The laying of wreath marks the end of this year's event at the compound of the man many believe paid the ultimate price for Nigeria's democracy. Dari Ido, Channels Television News.
Indeed, welcome back to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. There you just saw that report on Democracy Day, particularly celebrating the national hero, Chief MKO Abiola. And that's still our thrust on the program today as we unpack the President's Democracy Day speech and look at particularly the issues of insecurity and other related matters. We still have with us in the House Commodore Jerry Omodara, retired commander, Nigeria Navy, and former pro-National Defense College, Nigeria, and he's the State Security Advisor to the Kogi State Government. We also have Professor of Political Science, Ebonyi State, who is joining us via Zoom, Professor Eugene Onweke. Thank you, gentlemen, for holding on so far. So I'm coming to you now, Professor Onweke. Commodore Modara was talking about politicization of insecurity. He also referred to the need for punishment. I imagine you would want to speak to some of those things that he said.
Yeah, thank you very much. Security in Nigeria is actually politicized. But we're not going to dwell on that politicization of security. We should find solutions. And the reality before us now is that the federal government cannot provide security for Nigerians. The various calls on decentralizing security activities and security architecture of Nigeria is overdue. We expect at this time that states, local government should get involved in dealing with the issue of security. But that borders on constitutional issue. We can no longer dwell on blaming government. We have to dwell on doing the right thing. Let us restructure the security architecture and create the long overdue state police and empower the long overdue private guards and vigilante groups in our various areas. Now, the insecurity that are taking place, most of them are taking place within the rural area. But unfortunately, the local government structure is so disempowered that it cannot even fight security. And this is area we need to look at. Again, people have accused the security arrangement of being lopsided. If we must deal with the security, we must have a security organ or a security council that involves every aspect of the region, because they should be able to give information on what is happening in their various regions. And let me say this. The security challenge we have in the country today could be described as a sectionally oriented based on the issues within that given area. Why bandit may be
Claire,
existing
Professor
in other places?
you seem to be agreeing with Commodore Modara that the local governments should be on board in tackling insecurity. What role specifically should they play?
Yes, the local government, beginning from the traditional rulers, know the terrain more than the government, more than the police or the army that will come from Abuja or whatever. They should be on the forefront, at least by providing information. 2, by being vigilant against movement of aliens into their environment, and I should be able to provide adequate information. Then there will be active response from the security agencies to back up in dealing with such matter. But the issue is that the local government have been so weak that they cannot provide this information.
But some of this information is actually provided if we went by our conversation with His Excellency Governor Kayode Fayemi. But he said some intelligence are not actionable. So it would seem that the local governments here are helpless.
Let me give you an example. When you argue that people moved into the forest, that forest is located where? The forest is located in a domain of a traditional ruler, in a domain of a local government council. What did they do? Let me tell you this. With a very strong vigilante group, they can chase out some of those people. And that has worked. Even in the fight against Boko Haram, we know about the success recorded by some hunters. We need to get these people in action. We can no longer be waiting for national security agents that may not know the system to perform action. So that's an aspect we want them to be actually active, because these services have earlier been provided before now, and it has overworked. But we are losing it by not reactivating that structure. So local government system need to be restructured, need to be given the authority, including financial backing, to perform some of these responsibilities. And I want to tell you that in some places where it has been tried, they are actually functional. And I can give you an example where we have the vigilante group that is complementing the effort of the police and army. In local governments in Ebonyi State, or in Ebonyi State in particular, they have what they call a BAGO. The BAGO has actually complemented the effort of police and has contributed in reducing insecurity in such areas. So we need to invest in that area if we cannot talk about state police now.
And very quickly, one of the things that the president also said was that security equipment purchased some years back have been delivered and will be deployed. And it reminds me of the Super Tucano aircraft that were touted some years ago and delivered last year. But they haven't made any significant difference in the fight against insecurity if we went by the things that we're seeing, the events that we're seeing so far. Should we be excited about these new equipment that have been purchased, according to the president?
The moribund equipment cannot excite anybody. It is a potential, but not activated. Until we activate the available equipment, the security institution will continue to increase. And let me say this again. The insecurity is increasing because they are tolerated. We have not dealt with it the way we have been dealing with other security issues. We cannot allow people whom we know we can defeat with such equipment you mentioned, with other ones that have not been used, and we think we can deal with security. No, the answer is no. We must begin to disseminate, deal with them wherever they are, using available equipment. And the security apparatus, the security agencies themselves may be willing, but if they are not adequately mobilized with those equipment, can they perform? The answer is no. So we need to equip them, activate them, and mobilize them into action. And these issues of insecurity will be a thing of the past.
Well, there was this issue we touched on just before we went on break with Commander Modara in our Abuja studio about, it looks like some people are not doing their jobs in the security agencies. And the question was, who should do what? Should they be fired? Should they be reprimanded? And I'd like to get your views as a political scientist. There's a social contract that the government has with people. And when it appears as though one side is not living up to at least the dictates of that particular contract, then action should be taken? Now, specifically when it comes to security, well, Commander Modari to an extent agrees that certain people are not doing what they ought to do, perhaps at the grassroots level or across the chain. What should be done? Who should take the decisive action? He said the president cannot do their jobs for them, but what can the president do, or at least others in position of authority?
First, if somebody is failing to perform, someone else should be put in the place to perform. Change of guard is very, very critical. But it is beyond change of guard. There is a conspiracy against the citizens of Nigeria. Conspiracy in delivery of justice and conspiracy in fighting criminalities and crime across the country. Now, if we are committed and prepared, it can be delivered. So let us destroy the conspiracy of excuses and blaming that we don't have this, we don't have that. No, that's not the solution to our challenge. We need to activate the process.
Who should champion this, Prof? Who should champion?
The citizens.
Okay, not the leaders
citizens.
now, the citizens.
The citizens, yes, the citizens, we need to take our responsibility. You see, we can no longer be relying on services that we cannot get. You call police to come for action, and before they could arrive, there will be excuses of no vehicle, no fuel, so what do we do? And that's why the issue of reactivating a very strong vigilante groups, if we cannot have the state police, which may take a long time, but at least we can reactivate a very strong vigilante group across the state of the country, across Nigeria, everywhere, local government and thereabout.
But Prof,
this can be achieved.
I understand, pardon me to jump in, but let's be practical. At least let's take the example of the attack we saw in Owo. For example, we heard that the terrorists came with, you know, assault rifles. And the best you can even carry as maybe a citizen or a vigilante is maybe a shotgun, or depending on what kind of license you even get. But you can't get an AK-47, at least something you can match the assailants with. And no matter how much vigilantes you have, I mean, we hear that these people come with IEDs, improvised explosive devices, and all of that. So really, how much can the people do? Isn't this just even flogging, you know, a weeping child, essentially?
Yes, the core responsibility lies with the states, which is the federal government of Nigeria. When we talk about the complementary aspect of fighting security, we raise those issues. Yes, our response mechanism is very, very poor. It's not that we don't have people who can fight this thing, but how often do they respond? Apart from the Tokuno bombarder aircraft that was brought, we still have other existing equipment that we can use. So we need to activate our response, and that can come if there is strong synergy between the federal government and the local authorities. Why there's emphasis in local authority is to ensure that the flow of these elements at least checked before the actions are completed. But then, we cannot excuse the federal government or pardon them for inefficiency in fighting security or addressing the challenges of insecurity in the country. We must blame them for whatever that has happened, because our federal structure is designed in a way that only the federal government of Nigeria, led by the president, who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, that can order an action that can change the course of things. And this is where the point is. Let that action start.
All right.
If it doesn't start, we are going to witness more issues that can overwhelm this country.
Mr. Modara, let's talk about some practical things now in terms of operations of security agencies, because I mean, I hear you speak glowingly about some of the results that you do have. But have you met people, or have you yourself reported any matter to any security agency in this country, even if it's the police, for instance? Do you know the immediate concerns or the steps that need to be taken before they attend to your case?
Certainly. But before I go into that, I'll quickly respond to what Professor Nweke said. I think he's just speaking the mind of Nigeria, and it's as if he's from Kogi State. You see, we have practicalized the use of vigilante hunters in our local government, and it's working perfectly. perfectly in the sense that that is why Kogis today remain one of the safest in Nigeria. We must look at whether I report to any security agencies issues. I'm in the field. And I want to assure you that I left Kogi this morning. The Commissioner of Police will tell you that we have spoken. The Director of SSS will inform you that we have spoken twice today. And that is for us to be able to work together. The state and the security agencies deployed to each of the states, they must take responsibility, they must work together. And as you talk about leadership, when you have a leader that is directing well, you get it well. If anything is happening in Kogi today, and if local government chairman failed to report to me or the governor of the state within the hours, that person is in trouble. And at the same time, Commissioner of Police, the DSS, and Civil Defense in charge of internal security in Kogi, they are working in harmony with the military,
just a minute,
the army, and the navy.
In order to further understand your point about you left Kogi, you spoke with the police, and things like that, we're trying to understand what you actually mean by that, because you're an advisor to the state government.
Reports.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, you're an advisor
to happening within the state.
Okay, you're an advisor to the state governor on security. So you speak to them. You left Kogi this morning, you know, to where you are now for the purpose of this interview. But as an advisor on security, you can't move around without your security detail and aid. Every Nigerian can't afford that. So if you say you left Kogi and came to Abuja because of that, of course you'll be safe, as opposed to somebody who left on their own from Kogi to Abuja. There will be fears and apprehension. That's natural.
There's no doubt about that. But if you travel between Lokoja and Abuja, you will know the security network, the security apparatus that have been put in place.
Yeah, but since they've been put in place,
this morning,
since they've been put in place,
I will have my security. However, you know, along the road, we are able to police every area there. You will see the police, you will see the army, you will see the vigilantes, you will see the hunters. And we don't only put them on the road alone. We know where we put them, we know the way we deploy them, so that even if they escape to the bush, we get them at a very short time.
Well, we're trying to just highlight some of the challenges that need to be addressed without
some of the challenges that we must, some of the challenges we need to address as Nigeria.
Okay.
First, our recruitment is faulty. Recruitment is faulty in Nigeria among almost all the security agencies. I think only the DSS goes to the extra mile to know where somebody coming into the service is from. The school he attended, the primary school. We are now having all these terrorists trying to infiltrate our security system. Secondly, deployment is a big challenge in our security setting today. Go to Ikeja area. Hotels there, you will see mobile police all around, deployed, rather than deploy to the highways. We equally have situation where Professor Nweke was talking about ungoverned area in Nigeria, where the hunters and vigilantes are very necessary. They are very important to occupy.
Just as we wind down, let me just highlight this.
But those places belong to.
Yeah, pardon me. Some of the issues we want to highlight is that, you know, the challenge that the security agencies, let me say, for instance, the police as one agency, is that ask anyone who has gone, not even those who call the emergency numbers asking the police to respond. Look, the narrative is completely, it leaves a lot to be desired, because either they don't respond or they come when everyone has hours after the robbers have left the scene. But they have a huge funding challenge. If you report a case today, they will tell you either you register, you pay to register your case, you pay for the police's fuel for their vehicle, you mobilize them to get to certain places, because they tell you which police formation gets funding from government agencies. So they tell you, how do we expect them to operate if governors or government don't address those issues? Even the state, you boast so much that the same thing happens there.
Let me tell you, Chabelin.
Tell me.
One key area here is, you see Mr. President talk about reform, restructure of security we have in the country. It's key. First, I've been in Kogi for about 6 years now, and you hardly see each year that police will bring vehicle to the command, except the current IG. Just about a few months ago, vehicles were distributed to states, which is very key. For the first time I'm seeing it. The government is now left at the state to assist the police. The reform we need must start from in-house, of reforming from the IG, telling all the CPs, they must be able to live up to expectation as far as citizen reporting incidences to them. I'm very sure that everybody in Nigeria knows that you cannot go to a police station without paying one bill or the other. For one thing, I experience it. These are the kind of reform Nigeria are expecting to really focus on the insecurity level we are having in Nigeria today.
All right. In other words,
it's not easy for the IG to come down.
What you should then, or what we should then be focusing on, is how do we institutionalize practices that will ensure functionality. It's not about hyping one state governor or the other, because if one state governor leaves office, the next state governor can look at the laws and operate within the confines of the law and say, well, look, it's not my responsibility to pay for this, this, and that. It's federal police, and decide not to do it. And he will be within his rights to do that. So these are fundamentals that need to be addressed, and not us, perhaps looking the other way. But we'll have to thank both of you for coming on. Retired Commander Jerry Omodara, Security Advisor to the Kogi State Government, as well as Professor Eugene Weke, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Political Science, DVC at Ebonyi State University. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us this morning.
Thank you.